التاني. تمام. تمام. اوكي. سو هاي بدي اغلبك تدخل الطلاب. انا مش رغد، انا ليزا، هلا بعرفكم عن حالي. مدة اللقاء احنا حاطينه على اساس انه للسبعة، بس هو غالبا رح يكون بس ساعتين زي دايما يعني، بس لانه بتعرفوا هو لقاء واحد فرح يكون في زخم بالمعلومات. تمام. اوكي، خليني اول اشي اشير انا سكرين. حيكون مسجل، هيني عم بسجل فيه حاليا. اوكي، هيك شايفين السكرين؟ حدا يحكي لي، صهيب، حدا من الشباب، صبايا؟
تمام، واضحة
واضح.
واضحة.
اوكي.
موجودة.
تمام
تمام
تمام.
تمام تمام، يسلموا يا جماعة. اوكي، I think اني بقدر اعمل هيك. تمام. اوكي، هلا اول شيء بحب اعرفكم على حالي. انا مش رغد لانه الكل عم بكتب لي هلا حاليا في الشات رغد. انا اسمي ليزا، انا تكنيكال يونت اوفيسر في جاز سكاي جيكس، ورغد زميلتي برضه رح تكون معنا في هذا اللقاء، رح شي ويل جوين a little bit later. وهلا خليني شوي اعرفكم على جاز سكاي جيكس. هلا اتوقع انه في كثير منكم اوريدي حضر معنا سيشنات وحضر معنا تدريبات كثيره، فاي ثينك انه رح يكون يعني في معلومات رح تكون بالنسبه لكم ريبيتد، بس بكل الأحوال أي حدا جديد معانا أهلا وسهلا فيكم. إحنا كجاز سكاي جيكس بلشنا بال 2011، إحنا برنامج تحت ميرسي كور. بلشنا ك اللي هو كان كولابوريشن بين جوجل فور انتربرينورز اند ميرسي كور. طلعت جاز سكاي جيكس في فكرة إنها هي تدعم الرياديين والرياديات الموجودين في مدينة غزة، أو في قطاع غزة بشكل عام. فوقتها بلش الشغل على هذا الأساس. بعدين خلال يعني مع تقدم الوقت، مع تقدم كمان التكنولوجيا اللي كان عم بيصير، حسوا إنه كتير مهم التدريبات، كتير مهمة التدريبات التقنية، كتير مهم إنه أنت توجه الشخص أو الإنسان للطريق الصحيح في الكارير تبعته، خاصة إذا كانت في المجال التقني. فبلشوا في التدريبات التقنية وتم التوسع للضفة الغربية سنة 2017 2018 خلال هذيك الفترة. طبعًا صبايا يا شباب، أي حدا عنده سؤال بتقدروا تقاطعوني وتسألوني، ما في أي مشكلة. طبعًا هاي المعلومات اللي أنا حكيت لكم عنها. في شغلة بنحب ننوه عليها، إنه إحنا عندنا diversity and inclusion، إنه إحنا أهم إشي عندنا ما نظلم حدا، يكون دايمًا عندنا الفرص متساوية. ما بتفرق سواء أنت شاب أو صبية، إيش التخصص تبعك، إيش الbackground تبعك. طبعًا لازم تكون 18 وفوق، لأنه إحنا ما بندعم الأطفال، إحنا بندعم فئة ال الشباب والشابات. فيس احنا عندنا طبعا زي دائما احنا اكيد بنأكد على الموضوع equal participation of women across all our activities. هذا برضه شوي خلينا نقول بريك داون على الاشياء اللي انا حكيتها. زي ما حكيت بال 2011 كيف بلشنا، بال 2017 و18 احنا توسعنا في الضفه الغربيه. بالنسبه لهلا من ال 2022 صار في عندنا عدد بارتيسيبيشنز كثير اعلى، صار في عندنا سبيشاليزيشنز كثير اكثر، يعني صرنا نعمل تدريبات تقنيه في مواضيع كثير مختلفه عن قبل، وكمان سبيشالايزد اكثر. بطلت تدريباتنا جنريك، بطلت تعطي معلومات عامة، صارت تعطي معلومات بتلزم لخبرة الطالب أو الطالبة اللي عم بيحضروا هاي التدريبات. وطبعا احنا بالآخر هدفنا الأساسي كجازا سكاي جيكس إنه نزيد أو to increase the revenue لفلسطين. هلا احنا هيك بنحس حالنا عملنا دورنا في الاقتصاد الفلسطيني، في انه احنا نحسنه عن طريق انه نزيد الدخل او نخلق دخل لطلابنا وطالباتنا في الضفة الغربية، سواء اللي بيشتغلوا في الشركات المحلية أو بيشتغلوا في الشركات اللي برا. تمام، اللي هو طبعا كله هذا عائد على الاقتصاد الفلسطيني. هلا what we do زي ما حكينا احنا we contribute للbuilding the tech sector في فلسطين. زي ما حكيت لكم احنا بنحاول دائما من خلال دورنا في التك سيكتور ان ندعم الاقتصاد الفلسطيني. احنا كمان في عنا كثير بنقدم فرص للemployability، احنا عنا كثير علاقات لطيفة مع الشركات اللي موجودة في البلد وشركات برا، فكثير مرات احنا بنشبك الطلاب مع هاي الشركات عشان يشتغلوا فيها. وكمان احنا اصلا بندعم الطلاب في في موضوع الemployability، بنزيد خبراتهم في إنهم كيف يكتبوا الCV، كيف يتصرفوا في الinterviews. وطبعًا غير عن موضوع إنه هم أصلًا بيطلعوا من الtechnical trainings تبعتنا already عندهم full knowledge عن الموضوع اللي هم أخدوا training فيه. وطبعًا زي ما حكيت لكم support الPalestinian economy. هلأ إحنا بما إنكم انضميتوا لهاي الsession، أي حدا بينضم لهاي الsession أو أي تدريب تاني بصير جزء من الcommunity تبعتنا. الcommunity تبعنا إذا بدنا نوصفه في 5 كلمات بسيطة هو innovative, collaborative, proactive, inclusive and fun community. طبعًا هذا معناه إنه أنتم صرتوا جزء من الnetwork تبعتنا، رح تتعرفوا على مدربين، رح تتعرفوا على متدربين، رح تتعرفوا على mentors، رح تكونوا برضه رح تدخلوا في الdatabase تبعتنا لأي فرص مستقبلية إحنا شايفين إنه أنتم خبراتكم مناسبة فيها. ف it's a good thing to be part of our community. في كمان شغلة طبعًا إذا بتحبوا to learn more about GSG بتقدروا تعملوا scan لهذا الQR code. تمام؟ هيو موجود وباقدر أرجّع لكم إياه. هلأ في عندنا شغلة كمان في ميرسي كور اسمها الcommunity accountability reporting mechanism اللي هي عبارة عن كارم. كارم هي آلية للتبليغ عن أي موقف صار معك أو أي ملاحظة موجودة عندك، سواء كانت إيجابية أو سلبية. الفيدباك مش دايمًا سلبي، ممكن في إشي كتير عجبكم وحابين إنه نكمّل نعمله، فبتقدروا تبعتوا على هاي الأرقام أو الإيميلات. أنا سمعت صوت، في حدا عم بيحكي؟ في حدا عنده سؤال؟ أنا عاملة full screen فمش شايفة. أوكي. صهيب كله تمام، سامعينّي أنتم؟
يس رزقت شكله في حدا فاتح المايك بالغلط، مش
أوكي.
مشكلة.
تمام، فهلأ رح أخلّيكم رح تحضروا فيديو رح يكون في بقلبه وصف أكتر عن كيف الCarm بيشتغل وإيش هاي الآلية. طبعًا الفيديو كتير قصير بس رح يكون في عدة إيميلات ممكن تبعتوا عليها في حال واجهتكم أي مشكلة. وطبعًا إذا عندكم أي أسئلة بتقدروا طبعًا تتوجهوا لي بشكل شخصي أو على الإيميل أو على التليجرام وتحكوا لي أنا أو رغد أو أي حدا من زملائنا. هلأ رح أعمل play وصهيب أغلبك بس تفتح المايك تحكي لي إذا أنتم سامعين. سامعين؟
إيه لا، إذا بتقدري اعملي شير للسكرين انتايرلي، مش بس ويندو محددة، مرات بتحل المشكلة.
عاملة share screen entirely.
اوكي لحظة شو، أجرب أشغله من عندي.
إذا ممكن، خلّينا
يلا.
نكمّل إحنا الpresentation وبنرجع لك. تمام؟ أوكي.
طب
تمام، فأنا I will stop sharing. في شوية معلومات كمان كنت راح أحكي لكم إياها بعد الCarm فيديو. لا يحضّر صهيب الCarm فيديو. آآ أوكي، في كتير أسئلة على الchat. تمام، ما فيش مشكلة بنرجع لهم إن شاء الله. فإحنا حاليًا في Gaza Sky Geeks مش بس بنعمل تدريبات تقنية، إحنا عندنا 3 different departments اللي هم الprogramming اللي خلّينا نقول اللي هو الindividuals programming and non-programming اللي هم الأفراد اللي هم أنتم طبعًا. وفي عندنا قسم الشركات وفي عندنا قسم الmarket access. هلأ بالنسبة للindividuals اللي هو هذا التدريب جزء من الindividuals عندنا programming and non-programming. هدول ال2 departments بيشتغلوا على إنهم يعملوا تدريبات ويوفروا فرص للطلاب في طبعًا المجالات المختلفة. في عندكم الprogramming مجالات زي مثلًا عملنا كتير Python، Django، بنعمل cyber security network يعني كل الtrendy خلّينا نقول topics حاليًا أو الtrendy programming languages. طبعًا إحنا we keep up with the trend، يعني إحنا كنا نعمل زمان أكتر Python، هلأ صار كل شي أكتر عن الgenerative AI، عن AI بشكل عام. عملنا جديد دراج مثلًا. ففي كتير عندنا تدريبات من هاي النوعية. في عندنا كمان الnon programming department اللي هو أكتر بيركز على الأشياء اللي هي technical ولكن ما تتطلب coding. ففي عندكم مثلًا digital marketing، في عندنا مثلًا digital illustration، مرات بيعطوا مثلًا sales، مرات بيعملوا حتى game development أو مثلًا how to use AI without coding. فإنه في كتير عندنا تدريبات تناسب الناس اللي من خلفية برمجية ومن خلفية غير برمجية. بالنسبة لقسم الشركات فهو بيدعم بشكل أساسي الشركات الفلسطينية، بيدعمهم في أكتر من محور. ومعظمها هاي بتكون محاور إنه يا إما توظيف ناس جداد بندعمهم ماديًا في هذا الموضوع، أو إنه to upskill الموظفين اللي already موجودين في الشركة. وفي كمان عندنا اللي هو بيساعدوهم في الdigital branding تبعهم أو بالbranding بشكل عام. بلس في الماركت اكسس اللي هو عباره عن الديبارتمنت اللي بيوصلنا للعالم الخارجي، بيساعد الشركات وبيساعد الطلاب والافراد في انهم يعملوا كونكشنز ويعملوا نتوركينج مع العالم كله، مش بس بفلسطين. عندنا كتير ادفايزرز اوفرسيز، ادفايزرز مش من فلسطين، ادفايزرز حتى مش عرب، بيساعدونا، بيساعدوا الشركات، بعطوا ريكومنديشنز. في عندنا كونفرنسز مرات بنطلع الشركات عليها، وحتى الطلاب بيطلعوا مرات كمان كومبيتيشنز واشياء زي هيك. فخلينا نقول هو الماركت اكسس هو الديبارتمنت اللي بيوصلنا مع العالم الخارجي كقصص سكاي جيكس. I think انه انا حكيت كل شيء عندي.
الفيديو جاهز.
اوكي، فالفيديو جاهز، فبحب انكم تحضروه تركزوا فيه. اذا في حدا عنده اي اسئله بعد الفيديو نقدر نحكي اكثر في الموضوع. تفضل
أوكي.
صهيب.
ثانية واحدة بين الفيديو عندكم.
يس.
آليات الإبلاغ عن المساءلة الاجتماعية لمؤسسة ميرسي كور. نهتم بسماع آرائكم واقتراحاتكم وشكواكم. تقدم لكم ميرسي كور فرصة لتقديم المقترحات والاستفسارات والشكاوى بطريقة آمنة وسرية بسهولة، مما يتيح لميرسي كور الرد والقيام بأي تعديلات برامجية أو حماية ضرورية لضمان سلامة وأمن المشاركين في البرنامج وتمكينهم. نهدف من خلال هذا إلى تمكين أي شخص من تقديم الاقتراحات والشكاوى بشكل مستقل عن المشاريع والبرامج، المساعدة على منع جميع أشكال الاستغلال وسوء المعاملة، منح أفراد المجتمعات المحلية وسيلة للتواصل مع مؤسسة ميرسي كور بشكل مستمر، تحسين جودة المشاريع خلال فترة تنفيذ الأنشطة وقبل انتهاء مدة المشروع. أي شخص أو مؤسسة أو شريك من المجتمع أو من المشاركين في نشاطات ميرسي كور، بالإضافة إلى المقاولين والموردين العاملين مع ميرسي كور، يمكنه تقديم الاقتراحات. الشكاوى: من حقك تقديم الشكوى ومن واجبنا الاستجابة. أمثلة عن الممارسات التي تستدعي الإبلاغ عنها: عدم الرضا عن جودة أنشطة ميرسي كور أو سوء استخدام للموارد، وجود آثار سلبية محتملة لأنشطة ميرسي كور على المجتمع المحلي قد تعرض الأشخاص للخطر، اقتراحات عن أنشطة ميرسي كور: أي تمييز غير عادل اتجاه المشاركين في أنشطة البرامج التي تنفذها مؤسسة ميرسي كور، أي تصرف غير لائق من قبل أعضاء فريق ميرسي كور أو المدربين أو القائمين على أنشطة البرامج. يمكنك تقديم الاقتراحات أو الشكاوى من خلال صفحتنا على التواصل الاجتماعي جاس سكاي جيكس، أو الحضور شخصيا إلى مكتب المؤسسة حسب المنطقة، أو من خلال البريد الإلكتروني. في حال احتوت الشكوى على نوع من الخصوصية التي تتطلب أنثى الاطلاع على مضمونها، يرجى إرسال الشكوى على البريد الإلكتروني التالي، أو من خلال صناديق الاقتراح المتوفرة، أو من خلال الموقع الإلكتروني للمقترحات والشكاوى وتعبئة النموذج الإلكتروني. إذا كان لديكم شكوى تتعلق بالتحرش الجنسي، العنف أو الاحتيال والفساد، الرجاء التواصل من خلال البريد الإلكتروني أو الدخول للموقع. نشكر لكم ثقتكم.
اوكي، ثانك يو صهيب. تمام. فيا جماعة احنا عندنا هذا السيستم الكارب. اي اشي بتحبوا انكم فكرة عندكم توصلوها، او اي اشي في عندكم عليه سؤال او شكوى او اشي منيح حابين نكمل نشتغل فيه، فبتقدروا طبعا تتوجهوا للايميلات اللي شفتوها قدامكم. بحب كمان اركز على موضوع انه في ايميل مخصص للفتيات. اذا في مشكلة معينة انت مش حابة انه شاب يقرأها، هذا الإيميل مسؤولين عنه بس صبايا ونساء هم اللي بيقرأوا هاي الشكوى. فإحنا أهم إشي عنا تكونوا مرتاحين مبسوطين، ويكون كل إشي طبعا عادل. زي ما قلت لكم إحنا بنوفر فرص متساوية للجميع. وخلينا هلا إذا ما في أي إشي تاني أضيفه، خلينا ننقل لكولين. كولين, you're with us?
Sure am.
Hi.
Yep.
Okay.
Hi.
So from this part on, we will be speaking in English. And yes, so guys, for everyone, the session is recorded. I would like you all to meet Colin. Colin will be delivering the session today. Thank you very much, Colin. We really appreciate your efforts in this series of webinars. And for everyone who is here with us, this is only the first webinar of the series. So we will have another 2 later this month and next month, inshallah. So Colin, the mic is yours. You can introduce yourself and continue with delivering the session.
Sure. Thanks very much, Lisa. Thank you for the introduction, and thanks for everybody who's taken the time to come and join the session today. I've just looked at the attendee numbers. That is now my official record for the most people I've had on one of my webinars. So really appreciate people showing up.
I really appreciate us being a part of your record.
Yeah, no, for sure. So a little bit about, Lisa said, this is the first of a 3-part. So this is, there's not going to be anything too technical in here. This is really an overview of sort of how I'm seeing AI adoption and what people are doing with AI. And I think that captures it nicely. There's definitely threats. There's a lot of disruption, but I think most importantly, there's opportunity. Apologies for obviously me needing to be speaking to you in English. I will try not use too much UK English slang. If you want to interrupt me at any time, ask a question. I'm very happy to take questions right during the middle of what I'm saying, and I will be around as long as people want to afterwards to talk about this important topic. So a little bit about myself. So I'm a UK company director and CTO at Liberty Tech. I'm also a security consultant. I work in the UK with a number of customers around the world, helping them build secure software. I've worked previously with a lot of big companies. I've written a book on API security. I've been doing this for a long time. And I would say, I was thinking about this when we joined, you know, obviously the length of my career, I've seen some hugely transformative changes in technology. I'm giving my age away a little bit here, but I'm old enough to remember when the internet didn't exist. And I don't think we can now foresee a world where we had no internet, where the internet didn't exist. And I will say, without any fear of contradicting myself, the advent of AI and large language models and how they change how we work is by some considerable margin the biggest impact that I've seen in my career. And also not only the impact that it's having, but also the speed that this is happening. So just a heads up, I wrote these original slides about 3 months ago. I updated them 2 weeks ago, and I checked them again this morning, and I made corrections and updates. So things literally change. A week is a long time in the world of AI. That can be quite daunting. It's also, to me, very exciting. Just a note on how I've got involved with Gaza Sky Geeks. I got pulled into a meeting with Gaza Sky Geeks in early 2025 as an idea to take on a single intern, and where we are now today. You know, this is now the 3rd event I've done with Gaza Sky Geeks or with teams from Palestine. I employ, out of my own money, I employ a Palestinian based in Ramallah. And we have just taken an intern from the University College of Dublin, who originally hails from Gaza City. So, yeah, quite a journey for us as well, and really proud to be part of this. This is a personal slide that I put in here. I sort of thought back and forwards about, am I going to put this in here or not? But I wanted to put this in and capture that, you know, for me, this there's 2 things here. One is my commitment to the people of Palestine to help them is deeply felt. You know, as I said, we started this, and I wasn't sure what we were going to be doing, but now it's simply part of who I am. I grew up in South Africa in the 1980s in a very divided time for the country. We had a very, if you know the history of South Africa, it was deeply divided. We were on the verge of civil war. We had Russians on our border. It was a very difficult time for us. And I remember the value of my education. It's sort of that thing that I found that was what my future was going to be. It was centered around my education. And I had a most wonderful professor at my university who in my final year, we were actually being tear gassed by the South African police on campus. And we were barricaded in our theater. And he said to us, no matter what the future holds, no matter what challenges you face, focus on your education because that will set you free. And I still remember well, I won't tell you exactly how long, but it's a long time ago. And I still remember exactly that scene. Right. So your education is what is going to, obviously it's going to be your future. And this is an amazingly exciting time to be in this space. So I'm just going to put this up out front. There is going to be quite a lot of news that is going to seem quite alarming. The impacts that AI or LLMs are having on the job market is profound, and it's going to continue to be that way. So I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm definitely optimistic about the future, but it is going to mean that we're probably going to change the way we are working. Right? There's a lot of jobs that have simply disappeared, and there's this range of. I heard Lisa saying about learning the new stuff, or alluding to the modern trendy languages, and really AI is just accelerating that massively. So hopefully in the next 2 sessions, we're going to do a very developer-focused one next week. I'll show you all the cool stuff that I'm doing with AI and what my team is doing with AI. And then the next one is for people that are not technical. And actually, the world of marketing and content creation is probably being disrupted almost more than the development world. So, the headline figures of where we are with AI now. So, 78% of organizations now use AI in one function. I mentioned I'm a consultant I'm working with a company in France, they're a global company, and I've only been with them 4 months. And we've now gone from where 4 months ago they had a few developers using AI, whereas now every single part of their company is using AI. Marketing people, salespeople are using AI in part of their business. The majority of the world is now using generative AI, believe it or not, 71%. The amount of money that is being invested in AI is breathtaking. I think that number is now out of date. I mean, you have a look at the rounds that Anthropic are raising, you look at the investment that Elon Musk is making with SpaceX into this, and that's the prediction of the number of jobs that are going to be displaced. And obviously that is somewhat alarming. So while adoption might be moving ahead at breakneck speeds, what is happening is that organizations are making the change, but it's not really disrupting how they are doing things. They're still reliant on people. A lot of organizations have adopted a lot of tools. What I see is people buy, and I'm victim of this myself. I've got subscriptions to all of the main frontier model providers. I'm using all of the tools. I'm just learning Conductor today, how to run my agents. But has that necessarily disrupted how people are doing their jobs? And the data sort of doesn't indicate that that's the case. People are still putting out the feelers, still working out how to do this. And there's also cases where a lot of Gen AI pilots aren't producing a cost benefit, right? Because these things are starting to, using generative AI also brings its own costs. And it's hard to show how this return on investment is happening. And I think a lot of people are, maybe overestimating the actual impact that it's having. It clearly is going to have impact, but not immediately. So where's this hit? Who most affected? And I would say anybody who's doing admin or data processing are now feeling that, right? Customer support people, data entry, any kind of telemarketing, lead processing, lead generation, sales activities, those kind of market, that can almost certainly now be automated with AI. Right, we're all familiar with job boards. we hardly have recruitment consultants anymore now because AI can do a lot of that. And then what we're going to see coming now, we're heading into that now, that's obvious that that's happening, is any kind of knowledge work. So particularly junior developers, people who are writing marketing copy, graphics designers, if people have used the new GPT Images 2 that's out, that produces, better artwork than I've ever seen in my career. And it, can do it instantaneously. So those type of roles are going to be massively affected. And then, being honest, we are going to see this impacting the legal industry. The legal industry is one of the biggest early adopters on this. People are building custom models to handle legal, financial queries. I do all of my medical research. I think, is it OpenAI who now have a medical product? And then obviously we doing, my co-founder, my wife and I, we do a lot of our research and work on Claude, right? So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Now, where we are seeing the most changes, obviously, in entry-level tech jobs, and I keep an eye on the job market, and even for myself as a seasoned graduate and obviously veteran of the industry, it's just apparent that there are far fewer jobs in the market. Right? There's less chatter, there's less noise about jobs, and I think particularly on the entry level, I often get people, and I have been, inundated with people approaching me in the last 18 months saying, "Do you need a JavaScript developer on your team?" And these things, from me, just being honest as an employer, it's very hard to justify why we would make that investment. So it's going to be, the game here is going to be about changing how you market yourself. And I often use this term, and this does come up. You need to become AI first. You need to be thinking about, even if you are not using AI in your job, bear in mind that the people that you're likely to be working for are using AI, right? And you need to be enabled and know how to fit in with their workflows. And here we have this great paradox. So as I said, we're being impacted at the junior level. And what we now see in job ads is we say, we're looking for somebody with X number of years of experience. But if you can't get a job in the first place, how are you going to get that experience? And I think my prediction is we're going to see a huge gap in years to come. And I don't think our industry is fully addressing this. I would not trust, I'm an AI optimist. I love AI. I was one of the early adopters. It's very much part of my flow. But I would not trust AI to replace everything that I do. I would never ship an AI product, right? So you always are going to need human beings in the loop to vet, to understand the decisions that AI is making, as well as it does in building websites and web apps. We can't trust these things to be shipped, and especially as a security engineer formerly, this is just not something that I'm ever going to do. So we're going to need these specialists. And the problem is, if we're eliminating them at the junior level, where are they going to come from? So what this means is it's going to create an opportunity for people to step into these more senior roles, right? And I've got the canonical example that I have for you is our employee that we have working for us, and the transition that she's made within the last year in terms of where her career has gone. Right? And that's what I'm wanting to sort of enable you to do by some of the ideas and concepts that I'm going to talk about in this call. So real companies, and we'll look at Klarna in a moment. Klarna is a finance company. So they were one of the very, very early adopters. They had a dramatic headcount. They eliminated a huge number of roles and said they're going to build their platform with agents and they don't need people anymore. We'll see what happened with that. Amazon, Salesforce, Duolingo, a lot of those type of roles that are eliminated are what I would call more those BDR type sales roles. that are relatively prone to being eliminated by AI. And then, of course, some of the big boys now, Accenture and TCS. Accenture to see, and I also know that Deloitte in the Netherlands also had a big round of layoffs. Now, those sort of companies where they are employing people to produce reports, and we know what those companies do, they management consultants, those are very, very prone to being replaced. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Those companies have made huge fortunes selling consultancy services, and that is exactly the type of thing that AI is fantastically good at. Right. So a lot of those people aren't creating value. There's nothing unique about what they do. And I want you to hold that thought in your mind. You need to bring something unique to the table. You're going to need to distinguish yourself to an employer. And I'll tell you where I think that people of Palestine have a lot to offer in this regard. So we've still got, so the Kleiner case is actually a really interesting one. So they made a lot of cuts. They had to get rid of a lot of people, and look what happened, right? They had to backtrack on this. They realized that they hadn't anticipated the impact this was going to have. They got lots of customer complaints, and they started seeing this in their financials, right? They started getting a revenue impact, so they had to backtrack on a lot of this. And I think this is typical. So I think people will go, it's new and shiny, let's adopt it. The real world impacts happen, and then they have to undo. Okay, so it really isn't all bad news. People that will get hit is any kind of freelancers. So I used to use Fiverr. This is this online thing where you can put out a job and you can ask for bids, and people will do these jobs for you. Freelance writing, I actually used to do this. I used to write for, and that work that I used to get there has all but disappeared. So keep focused on what are you going to bring that's unique, right? Think of these opportunities. Think how you can diversify, learn. We talk about my employee Zainab and what she's done and how this has worked for her. Outsourcing. So we talk about this as well. And I think this is where I'm really just reinforcing my own point here. People of Palestine, you are not going to compete on cost. I'd like to think about what you can do in terms of competing in quality. You have a number of distinguishing factors in your favor. It's a very young society. It's very technically qualified. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for you to fill in gaps between what would be conventional outsourcing and to be AI first enabled. Right, so now we can take a deep breath. I'm seeing some of the comments here. I will come to those. I will answer those.
Yeah, we have a lot of teary emojis.
Yeah, I see that. It does feel that way. I can absolutely understand that, and that's why. And I'm not here to frighten people. We have to face what is coming, and part of what I'm wanting to do is get a strategy. We're not going to go into the specifics of this in this session, but the next two, if you're a developer or a content creator, creative, that's what's going to come there. I think so. Some of the positives that I would take out of this is we're only going to see an adoption. If you look at the investment that's going into AI and AI companies, right? So if anybody tried to buy a computer lately, has anybody tried to do a memory upgrade on the laptop, right? This stuff is not available at the moment. The size of these data centers that are being built, if you've looked at the Colossus data center that SpaceX has just enabled, go and look at how much money is being spent on this. And those organizations are going to need people to run. If they're not running the factory on the floor, they're running the technology that's running that. So what you want to do is, as I said there, it isn't the end of the ladder. It's the end of the old ladder, right? We need to teach you how to step up onto where the game is moving. And that's basically it. I think there's going to be more investment. There are going to be, I think, net, there are going to be more jobs available, right, as we move into whatever comes next. And I'm lying if I said I knew what that was. So net jobs. So this is from the World Economic Foundation. If you believe everything they say, I would think that there's, it's literally echoing what I just said, there might have been 92 million jobs that were displaced, but there's 170 million that were created. And if you go and look at AI, the AI job market at the moment, if you go and have a look at what super savvy, very technical AI founders, the people that are going to join Anthropic, if you look at what those pay packets are in the US, there's people taking an engineering job that are getting paid over $1 million, right? And that demand for top talent is phenomenal. And even people who are doing, relatively lower level jobs, even good prompt engineers, people who are creating AI-based tooling, even there's a massive job market, lift in that job market. Well, I've just said that. So the AI premium, I think, I'll give you an anecdote. I'll tell you my own story. So I was doing security consultancy. So this is software security. So OWASP top 10, avoiding SQL injection. And I was doing that sort of consulting maybe 2 years ago. And now I'm doing AI security consulting. I've just rebranded myself as an AI security consultant. And what that's meant is I've got 5 times as many openings that I've had coming to me based on that. It's simply because I've learned early on how to adapt to a new skill. So and I think the other thing is so not only a salary premium, but also think of it as an accelerator in your learning. And you've all just come through university or relatively early on in your careers. Your ability to learn something new now has never been higher, or the ability to do that has never been higher than ever. I mean, I'll give you an example. I am currently working out how to, and I can't tell you too much about what it's for, but I needed to do a proof of concept on an iOS phone. And I needed to build a screen capture unit. I needed to prove that I can capture live video from a phone and I can do a checksum of the screen grabs. I've never written an iOS app. I can't read Swift code. I can barely use Xcode. And using Codex, I was able to do this within 3 hours and actually prove it out, get it working. Now, if I'd had to do that from first principles, that would have taken me weeks to do, right? So I think a lot of this is going to be about finding opportunities, finding openings, finding things that people aren't doing. And I think I've got a slide on the solo entrepreneur. There we go. Yeah. It's almost like I've read these slides. So this is the $1 billion company of one person. If you go and look at some of these companies and you have a look how much revenue these, and Cursor is the one. So Cursor, this was the slide that was out of date, is, so I was one of the very early adopters of Cursor. So Cursor is a Claude Code before Claude Code existed. And I've been using Cursor now probably for 3 years. It was founded by 4, I think they were from in Boston somewhere, 4 young kids and a literally 22-year-old. They built this company and they've just been acquired by Elon Musk, SpaceX, $60 billion they've been acquired. All right, so they all, the chap, the CEO is the youngest multi-billionaire. So this is possible, right? You can literally create your own product, right? And that means obviously you're not going to be employing whole teams to do this for you, but that gives you the opportunity to become an entrepreneur. So it swings and roundabouts. And I think that comment from Ahmad on the chat there, that's scary and great at the same time, exactly that. And I, you know, are you glass half empty, half full? I've always been optimistic. And I think if I were to characterize my career, I've always tried to anticipate what's going to come next, and then try and move where that is going. I just want to talk about, because I'm realizing I'm speaking to people in the early part of their careers who've not seen this. Now, I used to, when I was in South Africa, I was working for the, you know, for the wrong side. I was on the wrong side of history in South Africa, and I was building communication systems. I was building encryption devices and secure radios for the South African military. And I used to be a circuit designer. So if anybody's ever knows what a circuit board is, I build circuit boards, I design circuit boards. And in my 20s, I suddenly started seeing circuit board designers that had an auto routing capability. So you didn't have to lay out the circuit board by hand. You could have a router that would lay out the circuit board. And all my friends, we used to sit and say, well, that's it. Our career's finished. We're never going to find a job. Circuit board design is going to be done by computers. And, you know, people were saying we need to ban the use of, you know, auto routing tools. And that you do hear these things that people say, you know, ban AI. Well, firstly, how are you going to do that? And secondly, you're really missing the point. And here I am 20 something years later, and I've had 5 different careers in between that and then, now and then. Right. So, and that's just simply done by being inquisitive, by not ever sitting back and expecting to be, you know, presented with an opportunity. I get that I had a lot of good fortune in my life. But it is just amazing when I think back about how things have changed, and I'm afraid they're going to carry on doing that. So Zainab is our absolute superstar of a developer. She's recently moved to Ramallah in the West Bank. She's been with us since probably about a year now. Yeah, it's probably slightly less than a year. And she's helping us build privacy apps with AI. Now, when we hired her, she had a background from Bezait University. She had a background in machine learning and AI. In that time, she's primarily on her own with AI, built 2 apps for us. And we've now moved her to a supervisor architect role. We're giving her ownership of product. We're saying, you go and research this, use AI. And I became quite insistent way back when that she adopt this. She adopt AI, she used this. She uses it in her day-to-day coding. We often talk about, you know, approaches. We're busy embarking on how we scale AI, because I think this is going to be another one of the bottlenecks, and we talk in the developer session next week about this, is every individual can work well with AI. We've probably got subscriptions to these various platforms. We've experimented with coding, and we've seen what it can do for us personally. But I think the gap to move into, we spoke about going to the next thing, is understanding how you work in an AI-enabled organization. So while she might be using AI to write code, the next problem we have to solve is how do we put that into a review process? How do we make sure that she can give me her work? I can also, using AI, use that to perform reviews. So that's where we're starting to think about how do you move from an individual contributor to understanding how to use AI efficiently in a company. Because that is, so if I were to pick something, that would be one of the areas that I'm going to see as a huge growth opportunity. Become an AI engineer, right? Enable companies to be able to work with AI. And the beauty of all these tools, they're all free. The tools that we would be using to orchestrate, you can all go and build solutions using more or less free tools. And I think that comment there, you know, she's not in San Francisco, she's in Ramallah. Well, that's exactly it. It doesn't matter where you are. I did see a comment. I didn't read the. I'm just looking through this. Just pause while I read this. So the problem is that I think that organizations, people living in Palestine, and I'll be honest with this, it's very hard to find these opportunities. It's very hard. You'll get lost in the noise. If you go onto X and you look about what people are doing, it's easy to feel overwhelming. It's like you're drowning in a tsunami of people starting up with ideas and building products. I don't think that's reflective of the real world. Clearly, there are people doing very well for themselves with AI, but they're the exception rather than the rule. And I think the biggest challenge that people have, and I know what I'm going to say now, because it's very important that you become as visible as possible. So I'll share my contact details, connect with me on LinkedIn, produce your own content. This is really important. Have opinions, have ideas. And I know you early on in your career and you feel like you're not entitled to have strong opinions on things. So if I were hiring and I were to be looking for somebody, I will pick somebody that's got an opinion, has got an attitude, has overcome adversity, and all of these things. And that's why, and this is not me, what's the word? Trying to be over optimistic here. This is my own experience of seeing the attitudes of people that we've had with Zainab. Just simply just to drive to want to learn and to move and to better herself. And I think we really need to be thinking, this is what, Gaza Sky Geeks is giving you this opportunity. I've been on webinars where we've been promoting the value of Palestinian talent in the UK to encourage people to hire. And I wasn't gonna do this because I didn't think this was a great thing to say, but I'm gonna say it now. If I were hiring, and I had a choice between a junior developer in the UK and a junior developer in Palestine, I'd pick somebody from Palestine every single time. The reason is that, and I also think that people are going to get really hit by this, is a lot of people who are used to working in very safe environments, like the UK, where they have very high salary expectations. They expect quite a lot in life. So I've said what I wanted to say. I'm one of those people. I'm used to a comfortable standard of living. Those people are going to find things, I think, pretty hard, right? Because it's going to be very difficult to see how they wouldn't be being displaced en masse. So I hire for attitude. I wouldn't necessarily hire for skills. So if I were to be interviewing somebody, I would ask them questions like, and we can put this as a poll question. Actually, if people can start answering this in the poll, how are you using developers? How are you using developers today? How are you using AI as a developer today? What are you doing? Do you have a learning plan? Are you thinking about what does the next 1 year look like in my learning? So if you want to start answering that, give that some thought. So yeah, Zainab is absolutely awesome. We're going to be delegating more supervisory roles, and I've always said to her, whenever, hopefully she doesn't, we don't part ways anytime soon, but when she does, she's going to come out of this with an absolutely phenomenal CV. And to close that point on the UK job market, it's a CV that would way exceed people of similar experience in the UK. Yeah, so the question is, what are you, and I know we've got a development, and I don't want to focus only on developers, I see that comment. How are you using AI right now? And more importantly, what do you think, where do you see this going in 3 months? Because that's quite how quickly these things are moving. So remote work AI is, and I appreciate this is I'm preaching to the converted. You already know that you are likely to use. I saw comments about the job market in Palestine at the moment. This is your advantage as much as far as the challenges are there. They are overcome. And I'll give you our anecdote myself. I will say that when my wife came to me and said, we're going to speak to these guys at Gaza Sky Geeks, I just thought, well, how will this work? Will they be connected? Will they have good connectivity? Do they have computer resources? What about the language barriers? And I would say that we've overcome these. It's not always been easy. I've been very mindful. I'm in the process of putting together a blog post or a guide for the UK Employer's Guide to Hiring in Palestine, right? Because the reality is that it's not always easy. Things don't always work where you absolutely understand the challenges that you face. But it's about communicating that, being honest about that, and then leveraging that to your advantage. We've had people that when I've found out what they've been dealing with and the fact that they're still producing the output that they are is phenomenal, right? So you're going to win. I'd say in my case, you win our loyalty, you win our respect by your attitude. So that's all I can say. So use that as your superpower, and use the fact that you have people in my case in the UK there to help you, there to promote you. I'll give you my contact details. I'm going to guarantee you that certainly not 120 people. I won't be able to respond to everybody, but I'm very happy to connect with people. I mean, this is kind of what we do. And also the window of opportunity. So this is all about the fact that at the moment, the global north, what we consider the Western world, is obviously accelerating the use of AI. They're the predominant AI users. It's really time to close that gap, to be able to carry on adopting that use of AI and close out that gap. Because only you can be leading your transformation and your change. So the downsides, and let's sort of recap now, and then I want to take questions because I know I'm going to get loads of questions. So entry-level roles, that path is being broken. There's going to be a big gap there, right? That you're going to need people who can step into that gap. I wouldn't ever suggest that you be untruthful in your CV or on your resume, but be prepared to step into that gap, push yourself into those kind of roles. AI output is wrong. It's insecure, it's shallow. We all know this, especially if we write in code with it. I think it is still at this stage overhyped, but I'd be very careful of relying on that as a strategy for your long-term career. Because we've seen what, if anybody followed the debacle with Anthropic and Mythos and Fable recently, that rate of change and improvement in these tools is pretty sensational. And you are facing challenges that others don't have in terms of payment infrastructure. I would say, just feeling from my perspective, I think it is easier now. My view is it feels easier to be employing people in Palestine now than it did a few years ago. When we started on this, I wasn't sure if it was legal to be sending money. A lot of these things have been overcome. I will guarantee that there are going to be net new jobs. There are going to be more jobs created due to AI than taken. But the jobs are going to be different. Right? I guarantee you, just look at the amount of money that's, as long as the AI bubble doesn't burst, I think, we're all hoping that that's the case. We're all, we're likely to see far more jobs than have been taken. And if you can distinguish yourself and differentiate, you're going to really get a premium on that. You lose the geography agnostic. You're no longer bound to where you are. And, you have a gap to step in there.
Okay, so Colin,
Yes.
I think I'm seeing a lot of different questions from different participants regarding not being a developer.
Yes.
So maybe we can talk more about the other professions that we have, the other careers that we have,
Sure.
and how would AI actually affect them? Sorry.
So let me give you an anecdote, and I'm not sure if my wife is on the call. My wife comes from a
She is.
background. Is she? Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I think but she went in Suhaib Arafat's name.
Oh,
under
really?
his name,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I'll keep an eye on my WhatsApp in case she tells me to keep quiet. But I'll tell you her story because it is quite. Yes, she is. Yeah, it is quite inspiring. My wife comes from I can't remember what she should know what she studied, but it certainly wasn't computers. It was anyway. She studied a non-technical degree, psychology. There we go. That's why she's been able to cope with me. She studied a non-technical degree, and then when we were married a few years ago, she kept getting interested in, what I was doing and the kind of things that I was doing, and she learned to, basically has taught herself. I'm not suggesting everybody's going to be able to go and do this or wants to do this, but she's been able to teach herself technology. So she now understands how applications are built, how they work. And I remember, and here's the thing, is less than 3 years ago, that she was busy trying to build the first concepts of the web app using Bubble. Anybody who remembers what Bubble is, it was one of these rapid platform development tools that allowed people to, with non-coding expertise, to be able to code. And she's gone from using Bubble and really battling with this to quite recently, she uses Claude all the time. She's on that all the time, doing market research, doing content generation, doing competitor analysis, et cetera. And she recently needed to translate something from a call that she was on. And she got Claude to teach her how to install Whisper as a local model and run Whisper and transcode something using that. And that's self-taught. So, and I'm not saying that everybody needs to go and be a developer. But again, that's closing those gaps for people that aren't technical to be able to, and I cover this a lot in the third part, and it's being able to work closer with your developers. So you can speak their language, you can learn what they're doing, you can understand your market better. And then on the upside, content generation, and I know I talk about this in the third slide. If we all experienced the hype that was OpenClaw and now Hermes agent, where everybody could run their own personal agent on their desktop. If you are creative and you are producing content, AI is going to dramatically shift that, but for the better, because you can simply turn out high quality content at a reduced effort for you. Right. So if you can find the opportunities, and the opportunities are there for high quality content, you can be creating those more professionally, and you can reduce your workload. So you can take on more work on that. Lisa, is that enough on that? Because I know we've got a whole section, and I'm struggling to remember what else, but I do cover that in quite a lot of detail in the third one.
I think you covered everything. Yes, great.
Shall we let's take a few of these questions, because then I'm nearly done with the slides. So the Fable thing is an interesting one. So
so everyone is curious about your opinion on why was it taken down. So a lot of people say politics. Some people say it's politics. Too powerful.
It's our friend in the White House at the moment. That's primarily what it is. It's a political thing. So some while back, so both Anthropic and OpenAI are both working on the next generation frontier models, right? Obviously, and I think Mythos, I think what happened around Mythos was real. I think they produced a model which, when they started doing the safeguarding and the deep testing on it, they genuinely became quite worried at what it was doing. So there were two things that happened. One is, I've used FreeBSD for like 20 years. FreeBSD was one of the original BSD distributions. It was always considered the most secure. FreeBSD, I don't think, has had a 0-day exploit in many years. I think it's considered safe, the current versions. And what happened was they gave it to Mythos to go and review. And they came back the next day or a few days later, and they had a look at what Mythos had done. And not only had it discovered the vulnerabilities, but it also written an exploit and exploited it, and then got busy and started trying to patch it. And that nobody expected that to happen. And then the other thing that they were seeing was a lot of the safeguards that they put in on the model front ends to prevent it doing things that it shouldn't. Like they'll remove, and I've had this with running even GPT-5 in my Hermes sandbox. I've asked it to connect to a machine and check my disk usage, and it hasn't had the right tool. And then what it does is it discovers, well, I've got SSH, and it just SSHs into the other box and starts digging around on the other box all on its own. So even if you're trying to protect these tools and sandbox them, they're getting clever enough to work around this. And that genuinely becomes quite concerning, that the machines, the computers are becoming, clever. They're doing what a human would do. And that's really what worried them with Mythos, and that's why they dropped Mythos. So then they try to produce Fable, which was a kind of half measure, but with improved guardrails. And then Amazon discovered that, security researchers at Amazon discovered that you could circumvent the guardrails. And that's when the White House got involved and pulled that model. But the answer there is pretty much that Anthropic weren't playing nicely with Trump. So he's used this as a stick to beat them with. But the other problem Anthropic are having at the moment is they also have a lot of capacity constraint. So if people have been using Opus 4.8, as far as I'm concerned now, that model is becoming increasingly stupid. I'll have it where on a given day it becomes almost unintelligent and unusable. So this is also one of the things that's going to happen is people are going to race to embrace AI. And then what's going to happen is there are going to be bottlenecks. There are going to be performance degradations. People are still going to need humans to operate the machines, right? Just be thinking about how you move into becoming that human. Should we just finish the slides and then take?
Yes, but one common question
Yeah.
actually that I noticed in the chat box that can we actually get those slides? So can the
Yes,
participants
I
have
didn't.
access to those slides?
Yeah, I meant to. That's a good segue here. So yes, absolutely. What I'm also going to do is, this is the fluffy, pretty slides. The slides, ironically, were made by Perplexity. And I will give the slides available, but I will also be putting a deeper text. So when I've referenced things or market research, I'll put a PDF with all the details. But what I'm also in the process of doing is I'm busy building out a website now on becoming an AI developer. And then people will have access to that. And if you follow me on LinkedIn or find me, I'll update that in time. But certainly in the short term, I'll make these available. But I am building out more content on this topic, and particularly around how to accelerate. And that reminds me, so the one thing that I didn't put in the slides was I've mentioned find a niche, and I think it's on the next slide. Let me just get to that one. So there's the plan. Find a niche topic. And what I would, obviously my background being a security engineer, security is going to be one of these growth topics, absolutely for certain, guaranteed it's going to grow. There's going to be more demand. So even if you've studied as a front-end developer and you wanted to build mobile apps, be thinking about how you become security aware. How do you understand how to build secure applications? Because those jobs are going to be a distinguisher for you. They're going to give you a niche. Right, so think about how you're going to do that. I would say, you know, the tools. Well, you know, I think we're probably all doing number one, right? We're all mastering the tools. Keep your eye on the job market. Understand what you know, what people are doing, what the industry is doing, and then think about where AI can amplify you. And even if that in the short term becomes something like, how do you market yourself better? So there would be, so somebody asked there, where do I get started? What can I do? Start thinking about how you use AI to boost your profile, right? How do you boost your GitHub profile? How do you improve your interaction on, you know, heaven forbid, X or LinkedIn? How do you make that look better? You know, that's just a very superficial example of what that might look like. And then the other one, I've always been a believer in this. If I get a resume, if I get a CV from somebody, I don't read the CV, but if I see a GitHub profile in there, I'll go straight to that and have a look what they're doing. So build in public, get involved in a project, pick something fun, pick something like OpenClaw or Hermes, go and contribute to that. That's a very good way to get a brand. Build a portfolio. You know, if you've got GitHub access, set up pages, put your resume on GitHub, build it, make it look, you know, make it look more professional. Maybe not I wouldn't say lie, but make sure that you're getting, and where you can get a reference from somebody. You know, those type of things are invaluable. And then position as AI first. So it's use the tools, but not only use the tools as an individual capacity, but learn how to use them in a company. So right now, if I had an intern come to me and say they're looking for a role and they're using agentic-based development practices, using Linear for issue tracking and automatic GitHub pull requests, you know, I'd hire them, because that's what the future is going to look like. So, you know, I did see, I'm aware of a lot of the comments that I saw there. I get this. I get that this feels, you know, somewhat overwhelming. Not only the challenges that faces, but also the speed at which it's happening. So, and I think what's going to happen here is you're going to have a gap between what everybody can do and what good people are going to do. And I think, you need to learn how to be that good person. You need to work out what excellent looks like. And you need to learn how to market yourself as excellent. Right. So I'd say those, but being on that lower tier, I think, you know, I think you're in a bit of a firing line there for, you know, for challenges, just simply because the tools are going to get there very quickly. So, you know, choose excellence. So that quote is from back in the days of South Africa. It's when from a song called Biko, Peter Gabriel. You know, you can blow out a candle, but you can't blow out a fire. Take the ideas, take the opportunities. You know, thinking back to my childhood, just keep that desire to learn, to move. You know, the world is more unstable, more challenging now than possibly ever. But also genuinely being optimistic. I think there's more opportunity right now. And I'm not saying that's going to be easy. but yeah, that's what I genuinely believe that. I will, we can probably put teasers. I'm just going to tell you what I'm going to talk about in the developer's guide. So that's going to be all the tools, which I probably need to refresh those slides as well, because that's changed. I'll talk about these things like how do you proactively use the tools rather than as an individual, but what does the team look like? I'm going to look at issues like security and vibe coded apps, and various things like that. And then in the third part, we look at how to use AI as a content marketing, sales, creative. And when I said that, I actually think that's probably where the biggest transformation is going to come. And I'm just looking at the company I'm working for at the moment. Their sales team, their marketing team are all wanting access to Claude Code. They've all learned how to use Claude Code. They are writing extensions for. Somebody wrote a Chrome extension for what's one of these marketing tools. Zendesk, and that's a customer support tool. So somebody wrote their own Claude Code plugin, own Chrome plugin for Zendesk to pull their tickets. So that's an example of how somebody who's not a developer can get frustrated by something that they're doing in their job all the time and then implement themselves a solution. I'm going to leave that up while I talk. That's how to get hold of me. I've got a little Linktree type bio with my details on that on the left. That's my LinkedIn. I just see I've got an animation on the screen. I hope that's not going to mess up that code. Anyway, you can find me on LinkedIn. You know my name. So that's the end of...
Colin, I think you can share the slides and also those QR codes with me, and we will send them in the email that we will be sending all the participants.
Yep, absolutely. So I'm just gonna scroll back. So let me just put that on the main screen so I'm not looking away from you. Let me go and read the questions.
Guys, you are also very welcome to raise your hand and say the question if you would like. Open your mic and say the question. If anyone has a question that they would like to ask right now. Okay, so we have Rana, I think, because we already answered some questions from the chat. So I would like to give a chance to the people who will be speaking as well. Is that okay, Colin?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Rana, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you for this webinar. It's been very informative. Thank you.
Sure.
I have a question. Do you think that AI gonna develop in the future as the same right now, or the lack of resources will slow down the process? I think companies doesn't have this much of ethics and policies. They use like a lot of environmental resources, water, and it affects the environment. I think it's gonna like lead to the disaster if it's not there's no restrictions.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So sorry, I didn't cover that. So I think what we're going to see is while we are seeing this adoption and we're seeing the growth of data centers, what we're also seeing now, and this is very apparent, is we're seeing the cost of tokens going up. Right, if everybody's used to using a paid subscription on Anthropic or OpenAI, we're starting to see that the providers are starting to move to API billing because they're realizing that their computer centers are starting to cost them money. So I think what's likely to happen is you're going to see I'm not sure if we're going to see a slowdown, but we are definitely going to see that situation being addressed where they realize that, and remember, all of the companies that are now valuing at billions of, I don't know, it's crazy numbers, none of them are making money. All these companies are still losing money. And somewhere along the line, we're going to have to redress that. We're going to have to balance that out. And now whether that means that things have to slow down, or they just have to keep growing the market, I don't know. But if it means growing the market, that does work in our favor, because it means that the more AI skills you have, the more machine learning skills, the better for you. But I think what you said there, and my sister's what's the word? An environment. I was going to say a tree hugger. If you know what a tree hugger is, a hippie, an environmentalist. And she's very anti, she said, we must stop this and, go back to, I don't know, living in caves or something. But, I don't know, somewhere in between the two, there's a happy medium. But potentially we're in quite a, this is quite a perilous time in terms of the impact that this is having, because it's not insignificant now. It is massive. But I'll caveat that again, and this is my my positive and negative brain going on here, is what's going to happen is the improvements in efficiencies of these models is also profound. Has anybody used GLM 5.2, right? That's the ZAI model. Or use the new Cursor 2.5 model. I'm not a salesperson for either of those companies, but those are models that run at a tenth of the cost, and cost being tokens, of Opus, and are about the same. So you're going to see this balance, and I think this market is going to keep doing, we're going to swing from one side to the other. And there's going to be this mass drive to efficiencies, because where we become more efficient makes us more cost competitive, means we get a bigger share of the market. So, I'm not an economist at all. Is humanity going to so I don't know. I don't know. But it's a really good question. So who wants to go next?
Thank you, Colin. We have Ahmed. We have two Ahmeds. أحمد أبو راشد and the other أحمد. أحمد الثاني مش متأكدة كيف أقرأ عيلتك، بس تفضل.
Thank you. It's Ahmed Abu Mghasib, actually.
أبو مغصيب. Okay, sorry.
Yes.
تفضل.
Yeah, thank you for this great lecture. So my question was about like a personal experience of me. Like I noticed that the more I am adopting AI, the more I'm using AI tools, also I become like more lazy. I feel like sometimes I'm losing some part of my skills, like that I used to have. Like for example, when I first started like working as a junior developer, I could like easily go ahead and read like 3 code files each with like 2,000 lines of code. I could do this. Right now I can't do this, for example. So like for example, if I want to run like use a command to decide what board the Docker container is running on or something, I could do that. Now I have to ask the AI to do this. So like how to balance between these two like contradictions or paradox? Like the more you use AI, you become more effective, but I feel like you're losing some kind of your skills or becoming more lazy, if you know what I mean.
I do. So we should have had a prize for the best question, because that absolutely wins the best question. So
Congrats, Ahmed.
let me tell you about my own, and you actually used almost the example that so what I do, I've got a lot of my own infrastructure, my own servers and things, and I often have to do things on them. And I'm not a Linux person. I've used it a lot, and I'm probably very proficient in it. But I can never remember command lines. I can never remember which switch I had to use to do this or that. So now I install Claude, the TUI, the command line. I install that on all the machines, and then I just go into the machine and I say, fix this. And even if I have to do like a git command, like a git had to do something where I had to do a force merge. And I can't remember how to do this. And that's definitely a factor, because you become lazy. You do. I don't know if it's lazy. I mean, that's one way of looking at it.
I think it's more dependent. You
are dependent. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's also just, so the way I'm going to frame this is I've learned to optimize. I'm like obsessed with trying to be. If I ever used to, and this is a childhood problem I had. Is if I ever did the same boring job like 3 times, I'd write a script for it. I'd write a bit of Python to do something for me. And this is how I see AI. I've realized that I actually wrote a post on my blog site. I've got a post on exactly this. It's taken all this cognitive load, the thinking. It's allowed my brain to realize I don't have to learn Git. I don't have to learn Docker. I don't have to learn any of this, because in a click of a button, I can just get that. The challenge there is, if that were to go away and to be taken from me, I would now then be useless. I'd be learning how to do woodwork or something. I don't know what would happen. And it's the same as with, but to be fair, there is an analogy. When we had the internet, when we first got the internet, and then you had the internet in South Africa, our internet was very slow, but also sometimes we'd have an internet cut and you wouldn't have internet for a week. And then I had to remember, did I write this down? Do I have a book? You know, so I think it's that same thing. I think that's a balance. I think I would see that as simply an opportunity to just don't see it as losing skills, see it as just using your brain to do something more interesting, right? And when I spoke about do something more valuable, do something that other people can't do, right? Elevate yourself in the job. I know it's easier said than done, but I spoke about that example about iOS app development. I knew I had to do this thing on iOS, and if I'd been trying to do that a year ago, I would have said, I can't do this. It's going to take me a month to do this. Whereas now what I've been able to do, said to my wife, is I've said, I can do this like today still. All right. So I've just used that as an accelerator. I didn't have to learn Xcode, this, that, Swift, anything. I knew I didn't need to care. But it's a valid point, and it's funny. You used a great example. That's exactly what happens with me.
Okay, thank you, Colin. Ahmed, I hope the answer was very satisfying. I think now we have Ahmed Abu Rashid. Ahmed?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
My name is Ahmed Abu Rashid. I'm from Gaza. I study IT in University of Palestine, but I'm specialized in video editing and motion graphic. For me, I had a very big gap because of the war. You can say about 3 years. I
Yeah.
wasn't use my laptop. I didn't use my phone. It was a hard time for me, but I decided to come back. I was working as a freelancer before the war. So I had a big challenge to back to my field, but it was so hard because you can see the new development and the update of the tech. It's like you can say, as you said, it's like a tsunami.
Yep.
So it was a big challenge for me. I tried to use the new tools of AI. It's a little bit was a little bit hard, but I teach myself. It's uh, it's amazing, but it's a little bit scary. You can say it's start to be a competition. So my question is about the competition. Now it's in the past it was you competing with other people that in the same field, and you competition with them to have the job or being better than them. Now it's like you are competing with the AI tools or
Yep.
the you know what I mean in the AI tool. So it's like a new competition, a hard competition, because you are now try to convince the customer to why I choose you. I have a AI tool that can do everything you can do. So what's make you better than the tool? Also, you mentioned things about the senior and junior.
Yep.
It's right. When you have junior, but they can develop themselves.
Yep.
So how the field will be more developed, and how it will gonna uh, sorry. So it's a little bit hard to be upgraded or develop yourself, but
Yep.
I think more competitive between me and AI. But I think it's great because after I use it, it make me more hello.
Yep, I can hear
Can
you.
you
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah,
you.
Ahmed, we can hear you and we can see you as well. Go
Okay.
ahead.
It's for me it's great because it's make me more creative. I think you can say in the past the tools or the programs that I want to use, it was needed uh, a big hardware, or I mean a hardware that can work to get you the project. Like for me, I was working in project like 3D project or model. It need a very hard, it need a very improved hardware. So the IT tools, it's make it too easy. Like you don't have to develop your laptop or your mobile at the same time, and you can get your job done. And it's amazing for me because it's make you more creativity. It's make give you more space to be to think more think more, work less. You know what I mean? And the last thing is about the subscriptions. It's mean like if you want to learn AI, you have to pay subscription. You have to pay for this website or for this website, so can use it, so can you learn from it, so can you develop yourself. So in this time of the world, while it's collapsed, as you can see, it's so hard for people that don't have money or doesn't have the ability to learn. So what's your opinion on that? And
Yeah. Yep. So that's the final point is very valid. I hadn't anticipated that, but it is perfectly valid. So, firstly, thanks for your honest question and your experience. As I said, that's sort of that sort of shows me the type of resilience and fortitude that I'm pretty used to seeing. So that's a long career gap. That's quite a big gap in your learning. I think so. Ismail in the chat there is actually kind of given the answer that I would have given. So maybe he needs to win the prize. But you're still competing with people, but you're now competing with. I don't see it as necessarily competing with AI. You're competing with somebody else who's using AI. So the cliche used to be, AI isn't going to take your job, but somebody using AI is going to take your job. And I think that's the case. And I think what you're going to see is you're going to see as companies start to have problems rolling out AI initiatives. And we gave that example of Klarna. As they start shipping vibe-coded apps and they start having problems, they're going to realize that they actually still need people who know how these things work. I think that there's definitely going to be a squeeze there. There's definitely going to be fewer of those type of opportunities. The market is going to get much more competitive. I don't know if I've got a great answer for how that looks like. And I think particularly in video and image processing, that's one of the most the places that are going to be most displaced. And without knowing your full background, I would, and you appear to have the mindset for this, but maybe think of a pivot to an adjacent. Go and maybe think about doing maybe focus more towards machine learning. And I know that sounds really easy for me to say sitting in Liverpool, but remember you're never going to be in a position where you can learn as quickly as you can now and faster than you can never learn more or as fast as you can learn now. But that does bring me to that point that you raised, and this is very valid, is AI is costing. There's a lot of these tools that are model providers. I don't know how many subscriptions I've got to various platforms and tools. And they're going to start increasing in price. So people are going to have to become more selective. Not an easy question to answer. I know what a lot of people, if you go and see what the influencers on X are doing, a lot of people are running their own infrastructure. But that again, requires very costly computers. I think this is going to be where we start getting resource constrained. And I would hope that there are going to be providers who are going to subsidize to more disadvantaged regions in the world. I know my family, my background is South Africa. We have much the same issue there, that a lot of people there can't afford pro subscriptions to Cursor or to Anthropic, and I hope that somewhere along the line there will be providers who will subsidize this. It's a good point. I should have researched that in a little bit more detail. Let me go and I'll go and think about what that might look like. It may be that we have to see almost a two-tier where people will be using the cheaper models, which aren't necessarily bad, they're just cheaper. And that might be what that ends up looking like. But thank you for your comments and that, and all the best with what you do next.
Thank you, Colin.
Sure.
We have Roseanne.
Thank you. Thank you for this insightful session. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
I have a question, please. From your perspective, will the future of work be more for the technical specialists using AI-assisted development, or for product-minded engineers who connect technology, AI, and business?
Okay, great question. So that's both. It's going to be, so where the market is going to be hollowed out is people who are, my prediction would be, who are technical, but with very general skills. So I think either you need to decide, I'm going to go and be a machine learning expert or a data scientist, right? That's another, I know that AI is very good at doing data, but not necessarily the models of how to process data. So I think those deep skills like that, or anybody who really wants to become an infrastructure specialist, understand how to build platforms at scale, or, as I said, my background, security, because that's a specialist skill. So that's the one hand. And then your other, remember what AI is not going to do. And at the end of the day, we are building product. We are selling product not to AI, but we are selling product to people, right? And we have to, at the end of the day, we are all in a sales role. We're all selling what we are building if we're working for a company. And companies work with people, and successful companies are ones where people have learned to work well with each other. So focus on those people skills. Learn how to interact, because particularly as we become more AI centric, the ability to communicate and get your ideas across to people becomes more important. So interpersonal skills, relationships, and that's why I said, get your LinkedIn, connect with me, write content, have opinions. Those things are going to be different. So I think it's going to go both ways. I think that's how it'll split.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Colin. Next, I think we have Mohammed or Sho. Mohammed, go ahead.
Hello, thank you for the session.
Sure.
I have a simple question. Like, if I've used a skill in multiple projects by the help of AI, should I add it to my resume as one of my skills, or
yeah, I think so. Yeah, for sure. To people who use Claude Code lately, I checked in a project the other day, and I went and had a look at it, and I saw 80 commits. And I thought, wow, I've been doing a lot of work here. And I had a look, and I wasn't a contributor to my own project. It was Claude Code had committed all 80 commits. I think that's pretty legitimate to do that. But what I would do is I would frame that. I would just say it in a different way. Don't say, I built, I don't know, I was talking about a Swift iOS app. Don't focus on the technology that you used to build that. Describe the thing that you built. So take it up a level. Talk about the problem that you solved. Talk about the lessons you learned. Talk about what customer problem it solved. Don't sell it like I wrote 2,000 lines of Swift code. Sell it as I built a privacy app for people in conflict zones. That's how I would change that. But absolutely, but be prepared for questions, obviously. So don't be untruthful, because I will always, I'll always ask somebody. I never do a technical interview, but I'll ask them, describe what this journey looked like for you. So if you can tell a story of how you got Claude Code to do something, my next question to you would be, how did you test the code? Right. So those questions, but absolutely you can, I would say you're fine to put that on your CV, but just try and make it not about, I wrote this much code. Talk about what you learned and what problem you solved.
I get it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. And now we have Sho, and after that, Anas. تفضلي.
Hey, hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Thank you for the session.
Sure.
Thank you, Colin. We talk about the gap and the career path, junior to senior. It's break. Okay, what we need to learn more, or how to find the new path. Okay, we talk about the new path, but what it is? I feel sometimes I'm stuck. Okay, we can learn more. I agree with this, but what we learn?
What's your background? What have you
I'm a
studied?
software engineer. I tried to get a job. I learned a lot of stuff in more than 1 year. But still I'm feeling stuck. I try to find an internship or any job to enter the market, but I can't. Or try to learn AI. I work with the cloud, Driblet. I learn all technologies and tech stacks more يعني but sorry, but I feel stuck. So how can I get out from this state?
Yeah. I don't have an easy answer to that. I'll tell you how, how my experience with employing through Gaza Sky Geeks. It definitely takes luck. And I'm thinking I told you the story about Zainab there. I remember when I looked at the resumes, a lot is at the CVs, a lot depends on those type of things. To get your first role, a lot of that is going to depend on luck. And I mean, I'm not going to say, I'm not going to sugarcoat this, but you will, as you know, you will have to keep trying. It will, at some point circumstances will fall in your favor. I don't know, if I'm honest, I don't know exactly what I'd describe as an immediate route to elevate yourself above people that you're competing with. That is it. I don't have a good answer for that. I'm going to think about, if you're on the next one, I'm going to think about, like, what does the entry level, somebody who's done maybe 3 or 4 years of studying, what specifically does that look like?
Okay, thank you for consideration.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I don't have a good answer for that. In the case of Zainab and other people that we've taken on, and our intern that, and I don't know if she's on this call as well, but I did the session in the UK where I presented to UK companies, and she connected with me on LinkedIn and just approached me and said she wants an internship. She's really good. And I thought, okay. And I got on a call and I thought, yeah, she clicked. I liked her. And we've taken her on. So it does take luck. It takes maybe doing things that you're not too comfortable doing. But I mean, you've just come on the microphone and spoken to me now. So, you've got confidence. Yeah, not sure if I can say, if I can come out. Yeah, so, well, that is the answer. It is about personal branding and marketing yourself. And that's easier said than done. But don't be shy. You've got nothing to lose doing this. And I never did. So I tell you a quick anecdote. So when I was a child, I was very shy. I just wanted to sit and play with my computer and listen to music. And somewhere later on, I decided that I became really interested in cycling. And I did this, you have this thing, what they call it, spin classes, where you have a class where they play music and you cycle. And I used to do these things obsessively. And I realized, I thought, I want to teach this, but I was like unbelievably shy. Like I couldn't speak, I wouldn't speak to people. I'd just avoid people. And then I thought, well, I want to do this. So I had to learn to lose my shyness. And what happened doing that, I then became a public speaker. So I did a developer advocacy for Veracode. I'll travel the world. I spoke on stages. I do these kind of things all the time. And that's just push myself out of my comfort zone.
So you didn't end up opening a spinning club?
No, I've got it. Maybe I shouldn't say this on a public forum, but I've got downstairs on my ground floor, I've got like a whole spinning studio with lights and big speakers. And
okay.
But it's
so
still
so you pursued the thing that you liked the most. So amazing. Yeah.
But push those comfort zones, because all you're going to take is one. You just got to convince one. And I'm not trying to belittle that you've been trying this, but you just need that lucky break.
Okay.
And all you need to do.
The problem is not in the path, in the career path, or what we need to learn more. The problem is networking, strategic, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're trying to do. And I can't solve this for you immediately, but this is why we carry on talking. This is why I carry on doing these type of events. This is why we, whenever I go to anything in the UK, I'll talk to them about our story, our journeys with hiring Palestinian talent. So, but think about how you're going to get. That's a good topic for a follow-on. I'm not going to promise an easy answer to that, but yeah, what does that marketing, what would that look like? Because all you have to do, and I say that's not quite fair. You just have to lift yourself, distinguish yourself from, and that's that comment about branding. Have some unique thing that catches somebody's eye. And I'm sorry, I don't want to belittle, the hassles you've had trying to find this. Yeah, it's a good question. I think that's something worth having more thought about that. And I might just write like an idea on what I would what does a good CV look like, right? Or what stands out. Because that's all and I'm not minimizing this, but that is what it takes. It just takes one person to want to speak to you. And, your personality will come across and people will say, you spoke very passionately. That will resonate with people. They will want to have you on their team.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
If you have any advice for me in this situation, I will be grateful.
Connect with me and I'll talk to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Colin, and good luck, Sho. I think we have 4 more questions, and I think that's the time that we have. So
Sure.
So let's go ahead with Anas. Anas, we can't quite hear you.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Anas, a data science and AI student, and I've worked before in NGOs. I noticed many people think that using AI means you're weak or not skilled enough. I faced this problem a lot. So, how can we change this idea and help people see AI as a smart tool that supports work instead of replacing humanity?
Yeah, I think Anas is talking more about the
Yeah.
old-fashioned way of thinking, like that you need to actually do the things yourself to be called excellent.
So that's a good point. And in particular, there's certain industries, and I think like NGOs, and we know from experience, are still quite old school. They're still thinking, they are a little bit behind the curve in terms of, and they. It's a good point. So if you came to let's try and think of a company, and you came to an interview where the company itself was a little bit AI wary, they were a bit scared of AI, and then you told them, "I'm an AI first engineer," they might think, "Oof, we don't want them. That's not what we're looking for." Some organizations are still going to be looking for people with experience. They're going to expect you having done your 5 years at junior, then mid, and I don't think that's going to change. There will still be jobs like that, fortunately for people. I'm just trying to think what the exact question was. So, how do you prove?
I always try to show them the good side of the AI, but when you know that AI, they say you are lazy, you are
Yeah.
wasting, like this.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I think there's still, and I think also from me, there's still in the security world, there's still a lot of people that say you shouldn't be writing software with AI. I fundamentally disagree with that. I think they may have a point, but it's simply not. I mean, if you have a look if you look at Anthropic, or you look at they are building, Anthropic are using Claude Code to build the next Claude Code. They've literally said they do not write by hand code anymore. So I think that perception is changing quickly. I don't think that's a reason to say I'm not going to learn AI because it's got a negative connotation. I think that's going to change. But I think also it's, are you lazy? No, just say you're more efficient. That's what I would say. I wouldn't sell it that you're lazy. Just say you focused on efficiency and you focused on learning. AI lets me do that better. But sell it as a positive. That's how you would do it.
And I think, Colin, if I may add, it's not an answer to Anas's question, but more of a statement. I think we went through that when we went from, paperwork to everything digital. So I think just give it time. Those, stereotypes will change.
Yeah.
And people will be more aware about AI, and it won't be a very scary idea anymore. So I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, and this again shows how old I am. So when I started doing development, we used to program microprocessors with assembly language. I don't know if they still teach assembly language. So it's like almost machine code. And then I started to use a C compiler. And I got told literally that exact thing. They said, real men don't use C. They write the assembly code. So it's the same thing, right? And here we are. Now we don't even write C code anymore, never mind assembly language. If you want a good fun thing to give AI, ask it to do something in Fortran or assembly language and see how good it is at that.
Is it good at that?
Yeah, it's astonishingly good.
Amazing. Yeah, I think I'll try that after the
session. I've got to try Fortran and it's like, yep.
Okay, next we have Islam. إسلام عودة.
Hi everyone.
Hey.
Hi.
My question about the new trends of using AI, like the local models, like Olama, for example. Shall I
Yeah.
utilize time on learning them, or it's just about a waste of time and money as well?
Yeah, it depends. So if you've got compute that can run those models and it's not going to cost you too much electricity, I don't know at the moment. So if we're looking at the top open weight models right now, we're looking at things like Qwen 3.7, GLM 5.2, and their performance is actually really quite good now. But to run the large models like the 405 billion parameter models, you need something with like 512 gig of RAM, which we tend not to have, but that's changing. I think if you're trying to do very simple things, so often I'll have my Hermes agent that I run. I have that doing very basic tasks like checking my infrastructure, turning my lights on and off. You don't want to know what all I'm doing with that, but things that aren't thinking, it's processing. It's just performing operations. Those work very well on Olama locally on my laptop. So it depends what you're trying to do. If you're trying to write code, no, I don't think we're quite there yet. But I'd say we're closer now, obviously, than we've ever been. And that probably in 6 months' time, that will have changed. But let me tell you what I think is more important for you to know is understand how these models are working. You don't have to become an AI engineer, but understand how models are built, what weights are, what parameters are, what context is, how do you choose one model against another, when to use which model, when do you need to use something with a lot of reasoning ability, and when do you need to use something that's fast. So those are skills that are really easy to learn. You can do experiments, with Olama. You can compare it to your subscription and see how these different things behave, because that kind of knowledge. So let me give you an example. If I had somebody come to me today with a CV that said, well, I've done that type of work, that's a huge plus in my book, right? Because that's showing a level of wanting to learn new things, understanding where the problem is moving, because somewhere soon, tokens are going to start getting too expensive to just use the biggest model on all the problems. People are going to have to start thinking about how they break up their tech stack with AI. So if you could do something like that, or even make some experiments to learn about that. And even if you don't learn terribly much, write a LinkedIn post about that. Build a little test harness in Python, put it on your GitHub. Yeah, so I think what will happen, I've got a NVIDIA Spark with 128 gig of memory, and that runs 70 billion parameter models quite well, quite usably fast.
Thank you, Colin.
Okay.
Okay, we have 2 more questions.
Sure.
Is that okay with you, Colin?
Yeah.
We might need like 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, Mohammed, go ahead.
First, I would thank Gaza Sky GX and Mr. Colin for this great opportunity. I have a question for Mr. Colin because, of course, he is an expert and I am a beginner. So the question is, how can I start learning as a beginner? So I already know that there is a machine learning, deep learning, Power BI agents. So where shall I start, and how can what should I stay focused on?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Now, I'm going to confess here, and this will show very nicely how how strange this world is that we're working in now. So I'm also not at all, I know almost nothing about machine learning and the deep knowledge of it. It's certainly not my background. You know, my background was as a hardware designer, then as a software person, then as a security person. And I only learned what I know now about AI like in the last 2.5 years. And it's very odd that I'm now having jobs where I'm a consultant and I'm working for companies where the CISO, the head of security will say to me, we're really lucky that we have an AI expert with us. And I'm like, and I look around like who they're talking about, then I realize they're talking about me. And I don't see myself as that. But I think that's how strange this market is. And I guess part of where I've got the benefit of being old is that I've learned how to sell myself and I've learned how to sell my skills, and I haven't worried too much about not being an expert in that. I've just said, that's what I do. But that's not the question you asked. The question would be, I would probably learn that answer is good. You want to learn the fundamentals. Don't, a couple of tips that I'll give you. Don't focus on the cool things. Don't just look at the latest thing. You know, people are talking about what's the latest one on Claude Code? Loops. Apparently everything is now loops. So you don't talk to your agent. You write something that talks to your agent for you. And basically all that is just marketing. It's not marketing, it's influencer hype. It's like, you know, the latest cool thing. And then everybody wants to do this. I don't know who here followed the OpenClaw thing at the beginning of the year. This project where everybody went and bought Mac Minis and tried to install this crazy piece of absolute garbage on their Mac Minis and then got hacked and all sorts of things. And that's just a hype thing. So that question, Mom, you've answered that question really well there. Get the basics, learn the fundamentals, build experiments, build projects, try and find a problem to solve. So I built something for a little project we did. I had to build an algorithm in C that could classify audio. It could detect noise, somebody banging on a box or drilling. And I knew nothing about audio algorithms, and I got Claude Code to write that for me in C. Then I got it to explain what it had done. And then I had to look at how the model is working. I benchmarked it. I had to look what things were computationally expensive. And now I can say, well, I know how audio processing works. It's not strictly true, but I learned that in like half a day. So pick the basics, but then find something to find some problems to solve. Come up with an app idea, just make something. You know, I don't know, just make anything that springs to mind, and then just put the thing on GitHub. And then you've learned that, and that's the way to learn. I don't learn academically. I only learn by trying to do something. But don't waste time on like the trendy thing this week, because next week it'll be another trendy thing. And people spend, and I mean, my wife will know this, at the beginning of the year, I decided I'm going to do, I'm going to become an agentic build expert. And I spent most of my free time trying to build OpenClaw and get it debugged. And I just thought, my God, I've spent like two months doing no real work. But as soon as you use it to solve a real problem, then you make progress. So yeah, just go to, that's good recommendation. Start with the basics, concepts, and use it to build something and solve the problem.
Thank you, Colin. I think we have one last question. Sorry, we're a little bit over time. It's 6:05. Ismail, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for this meeting. Thank you, Lisa, for hosting this. Mr. Colin, thank you for the precious information. We really appreciate it. I don't have a question, but I just want to say we are living in a time that we need to adapt to AI because it's just a tool. We can use it to advance our job and to become like more in what we are doing. I was following AI since 2020 and I'm really interested in it. Every single day we have a new tech.
Yep.
We have new tools. We can use it, and it's like it's not like it's cheap. Like everyone can have it. There is a free version. There is like with tier premium. You can use everything you can have, and in the good thing and or the amazing thing, you can find it in every corner. Like you are you wanna like design, okay, a website.
Yep.
There is tools for it. You wanna write a story. There is tools for it. You can build a whole YouTube channel based on AI agent. So AI is just like a tool. You can use it, but you need like to learn how to use it. You need to adapt with it. This is like the key for it. And thank you very much. I really
Sure.
appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I just seen your comment in the chat there and I gave you 100% for that answer because that's exactly it. And the example I gave about my wife, that to me is the biggest indicator of how somebody that is entirely non-technical can now become building her own startup in like less than 3 years.
Yes,
right.
yes.
And it absolutely wasn't easy for her to do this. And there were a lot of struggles along the way. And I'm not minimizing anybody's, hardship and challenges. And I meant to say, somebody spoke about the new tools. I spoke about the Seed compiler. I mean, when the printing press was invented hundreds of years ago, there were lots of people that used to write books by hand. They would write manuscripts with a pen. And suddenly there were a whole lot of people that were unemployed. And, now we have books. So, and I know that's a trivial example, but that's these things. I'm afraid this is just how it changes. And I think maybe what we're having a bit of overwhelm here, and I did see when I saw the comments initially, was it's not so much the actual change, but it's the speed of the change. And I think that's what it maybe is overwhelming people. So to what you said there, keep focused on, try and have a goal of what you want to achieve. Like think about, I would say build your GitHub profile, build your LinkedIn profile, do some original content where you write your own ideas, tell a story, solve a problem. Don't get too fixated on just using the new technology, because what's new now next week won't be new anymore and it'll become stale. Really focus on your relationships, focus on your networks, and don't be, don't be shy. Don't be people. I can see my LinkedIn now. Great, I'll come and connect with you all. But, you have you do have a hell of a lot going for you, and we want to see what we can do to help.
Thank you, Colin, and thank you,
Yes,
Ismail.
thank you very much. Thank you.
Colin, I think you mentioned something about polls that you wanted to do at the end of the session. I'm not sure if that's the case still.
Yeah, well, I'm just curious as to, and the usual question I ask in these is, how are people feeling about AI, less or more optimistic? Do they see it as an opportunity or do they see it as a threat?
Would you like me to create a poll right now, or
Yeah,
would you
go
just
on.
like
On.
to?
Yeah, let's do that
Okay.
quickly.
I think by in this time we still have one question from Rital. If you
Sure.
have time, Colin. Rital, if you
Yeah.
would like to speak now.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
And as a digital business administration student, what skills should I learn to keep up with AI developments? And how can I use AI in my future job to add value to a company?
So just tell me what you're doing. Digital business administration. What was the study? What were you studying?
Digital management business.
Okay. So I think so obviously come to the third session because we cover that a lot. Think about how you can use AI to, I would think, to automate a lot of what you're doing. So, and I don't know exactly what you've studied and what your work would look like, but think about how you can use Claude Cowork, Claude Desktop, Claude, yes, sorry, Claude, how you can use that to automate what you're doing. Because a lot of that work that you're doing are things that can be probably quite easily automated. So, I mean, if you're doing contact with customers, or you're doing communications to your team, you start adopting AI to help you automate as much of that as you can, and just become more efficient. I don't know exactly I don't know if you want to describe kind of tasks that you do, but those things are incredibly efficient to get automated. Sorry if that isn't a great answer. If you want to come back and tell me exactly what kind of day-to-day things you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, Rital. So I launched the question. I'm not sure if I wrote the answers right, but it was basically, is it an opportunity or a threat now? And I think by now we can see that a lot of people are saying opportunity. So I think,
Job done.
they got the idea. Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
it's and the thing is, I'd say we've always seen this. I've been doing this, and I would say to people, I can't say don't worry, but it's always been like this. There's always been, I mean, the world is crazier now than, to be fair, the world is crazier now than ever in my lifetime. But although I say that, probably South Africa in the 80s about the same. But I just see the opportunity now, and if if you don't, then it is there. But what's hard is it's hard to know what it looks like. It's not predictable anymore, and I think that's what people are struggling with. It's the fact that they don't know what 20 years ago people would know. I go to college, I study 4 years, I become a junior developer. It was all mapped out, and now it's like, well, that's just not there anymore, and that's hard.
That is true. And also, if I may add, I think it's, if you can't really change something, and we can't really change what's happening right now, so none of us can just go ahead and stop AI. I think you can only change your perspective on it, the way you see it. So for those people who are still thinking it's a threat, I think that's what you can change. This is what you can actually change. You can't change the world. You can't change what's happening right now in the tech sector. So yeah, maybe changing your point of view on it, your perspective, how are you approaching it, might actually help.
Yep, agreed. That's why we're here.
Yeah, and we're here to help you. Colin's here to help you. Okay, I think we're done for today. Anything else, Colin, you would like to add?
No, just see you next week.
Yes, we will have 2 more sessions, and yeah, keep posted on our groups on WhatsApp, on Instagram, so you can see the next sessions and you can apply to them. And I see Rebecca clapping.
Yeah, she
and I hope you saw, Colin, how many hearts and clappings you got today from the participants. So I think I can say this for everyone. We really enjoyed this session, and we really appreciate your efforts. It's an amazing topic, and it was amazingly communicated. Thank you very much again for your help and your support for Palestinians in general and for Gaza Sky Geeks in particular. And see you soon.
Yep, Rebecca has to clap, but I appreciate the comments from everybody else.
We appreciate your efforts as well.